Let me take you back to a world consumed by fire and fury, a world where steel met courage and freedom was tested on every front. The year is 1941. The skies roar with thunder, the oceans churn with warships, and the land trembles under the boots of men marching for liberty in the midst of this storm stands an old warrior, a pistol, many called outdated, the Colt M1911, born decades before, but still resting proudly on the hip of every American soldier, as if defying time itself, as if whispering, "I am not done yet." The air is heavy with smoke and fear. Young men, barely out of boyhood grip, their rifles, trembling hands, sweating hearts pounding, and there beside them a trusted companion, the cold metal weight of the 1911, its smooth grip worn from training, its barrel gleaming in the light of dawn. It is not just a weapon, it is a promise, a silent vow, that when the world falls apart, something will still stand between freedom and tyranny, something simple, reliable, unstoppable. Sound of bombs fading, echoing through the night. Camera pans across the shattered remains of a European town. American flags flutter above makeshift camps. Tired soldiers rest by the fire, cleaning their pistols one by one. The 1911s glint in the firelight. They talk quietly about home, about families waiting across the ocean. And as the flames dance, their faces harden, because they know tomorrow they will fight again, and that old pistol will not fail them. It never does. This is the story of how an old design born before the Great War became the heart of American sidearms, how it earned its place in the hands of heroes from Normandy to Iwo Jima, how it became more than a gun, more than a tool, but a symbol of American endurance, courage, and dominance that would echo through history long after the last shot was fired. Let me take you back even further, before the thunder of World War II, before the dust of battle in Europe, before Pearl Harbor, when the seeds of American strength were being forged in the crucible of innovation. It was the dawn of a new century, and America stood tall, restless, determined, ready to lead the world into an era of power and progress. In the heart of that movement stood a man named John Browning, a genius, a craftsman, a visionary, who believed that American engineering could build not just machines, but legends. The Colt M1911 was not born from luxury or comfort. It was born from necessity, from the cries of soldiers in the Philippines who needed a sidearm that could stop an enemy fast, who needed a weapon that could be trusted in mud, heat, or blood. And so Browning answered that call with the spirit of American ingenuity. He crafted a weapon that was simple, powerful, and reliable, a weapon that did not ask for praise. It simply performed every single time, and that was the American way. Silent strength with unstoppable purpose, sound of hammer striking metal, echoing across a dimly lit workshop. Sparks fly as Browning tests his design, every part shaped with precision, every motion guided by purpose. His eyes burn with determination, because he knows he is building more than a firearm. He is shaping the future of American might. When he pulls the trigger for the first time, the shot rings like a promise that this weapon will never betray the hand that wields it. Years pass, armies rise and fall, but the 1911 remains steady. When the call to arms sounds again in the dark days of World War II, the same old pistol returns, now carried by millions of Americans who trust it with their lives. A gun built before their fathers fought, now standing as the symbol of their sons' courage and faith. The 1911 was not outdated, it was timeless. It carried the heartbeat of a nation ready to defend liberty with iron resolve. The world is burning once more. The drums of war echo across oceans and skies. America has entered the fight not as a bystander, but as a force of destiny. Factories roar to life, men march into history, and the 1911 rests once again at the side of freedom, itself on ships across the Pacific, in the deserts of North Africa, in the snowy fields of Europe. Every American soldier knows that when all else fails, when the world turns dark, the weight of that pistol means survival, it means power, it means home. Sound of engines rumbling, camera sweeps across endless rows of factories, women and men working side by side, sparks flying as machines stamp metal frames, each one destined for the hand of a soldier. The spirit of America flows through those assembly lines, strong, steady, relentless. This is not just production, this is creation, the birth of a symbol that will cross continents and shatter tyrannies. The Colt 1911 is no longer just a tool. It is the fingerprint of a nation built on freedom out in the Pacific. A young Marine crouches behind sandbags, bullets snapping overhead. His rifle jams in the chaos, his breath quickens. He reaches for the sidearm at his hip, And the familiar weight answers his fear. The 1911 barks once, twice, three times, and silence returns. He looks at the pistol, its barrel smoking, and for a moment he smiles, because in his hand he holds not just a weapon, but the will of an entire country, a weapon that never gives up and never breaks down the world. May call it old, but on the battlefield where seconds decide life and death, age means nothing. What matters is trust, what matters is results. And in those moments of chaos, the 1911 delivers every time. Its recoil feels like the heartbeat of America, steady, powerful, and true, carrying a legacy that no modern design could ever erase. The year is 1942. The world trembles beneath the storm of war, and the 1911 faces its greatest test, the jungle of the Pacific, the frozen fields of Europe, the burning deserts of Africa. Wherever American boots march, the pistol follows, silent and loyal. It becomes the last voice of the free world when words fail and courage is all that remains. Soldiers speak of it. With reverence they trust its weight, its grip, its roar, because when the battle rages and fear consumes the heart, the 1911 is the line between despair and victory. Sound of gunfire echoing through jungle mist, rain falling on helm. It's the camera moves slowly across soldiers crouched in mud, their uniforms soaked, their hands shaking. One man raises his pistol, eyes locked on the tree line. He fires, the slide snaps, back smoke rises, the enemy falls, and the soldier breathes again. For him, the 1911 is not old, it is alive. It is the spirit of every man fighting beside him, unyielding, steady, unstoppable across the ocean in Europe. Another soldier kneels in rubble, his rifle lost, his unit scattered. He hears footsteps in the ruins, the enemy draws near. He grips his pistol, whispering a prayer, and when he fires, the echo rolls through the broken city like thunder. Each shot pure defiance, each flash a reminder that America still stands. The 1911 does not jam, it does not falter, it speaks only truth, and every time it fires, that truth is freedom. It becomes the unseen hero of every battlefield, the sidearm that turns fear into resolve, the weapon that transforms ordinary men into legends. And though designed in another era, its purpose fits this war perfectly, for this is a war of endurance, and the 1911 is endurance forged in steel and faith, a weapon as immortal as the courage of the men who carry it. Every weapon tells a story, but the story of the 1911 is written not in metal, but in the hands that held it. The young Marine crouching in jungle, the paratrooper dropping into the darkness over Normandy, the pilot who carried it as a last resort when his plane burned in the sky. Each of them knew that this pistol was not just a sidearm, it was their final guardian, their constant companion, a piece of home carried through hell itself. America had given them the best, and they carried it with pride because they trusted what their nation built. Sound of waves crashing, distant artillery, rumbling camera pans across weary soldiers cleaning their pistols after battle, their faces streaked with dirt and sweat. They work in silence, each man lost in thought. One turns the weapon over in his hands, runs his thumb along the barrel, and smiles softly. He remembers training, the first time he fired it, the recoil, the smell of powder, the power that surged through him. It was more than confidence, it was belief, belief in himself, belief in the men beside him, belief in the country that armed him for freedom. In the hands of these men, the 1911 becomes something sacred, a symbol of unity between the soldier and the soul of America. It does not matter if it is worn, scratched, or dented. Every mark is a story, every scar a memory. From foxholes bombers to tanks, its presence means hope, it means strength, and it means home. Sound of wind across a battlefield, camera lingers on a fallen soldier, his 1911 resting beside him in the dirt. The metal glints beneath the sun, even in silence. It speaks a language older than words. It says, I did not fail, and neither did he. That is the legacy of the 1911, a weapon that became the heartbeat of those who fought for freedom, and a symbol of a nation that refused to bow to tyranny. The thunder of war grows louder, and the 1911 stands unshaken through fire and blood. It proves itself over and over again on the beaches of Tarawa, in the forests of the Ardennes, in the skies over the Pacific. It never falters, never hesitates, never breaks. While newer weapons jam or fail, this old pistol performs with flawless precision, a machine of simple genius and unyielding strength, born from American hands and perfected by American resolve. Sound of waves crashing against landing craft, soldiers shouting orders, camera pans across chaos, bullets tearing the air, explosions turning sand to smoke. One soldier wades through water clutching his rifle. When it jams, he draws the 1911 and fires each shot a heartbeat of defiance. The pistol kicks back in his grip, steady and sure the enemy falls, and he keeps moving forward, because that is what Americans do. They advance, they overcome, they endure in every theater of war. The 1911 earns its legend. It becomes the weapon of last resort, the savior in the darkest hour, when the fog of battle consumes all, and courage is the only light the men who carry it know they can count on it. Every time it fires, it speaks with the voice of a nation that refuses to surrender, a voice of freedom, echoing across continents and generations. Sound fades, camera focuses on rows of pistols being loaded onto ships bound for Europe. The workers watch them depart with pride, knowing what they represent, each one a piece of American strength sailing to liberate the world. The 1911 was forged not only in steel, but in faith. It was the embodiment of reliability, the perfect balance of design and purpose, and as it spread across the globe, it carried with it the unbreakable will of the United States of America. By 1944, the war has reached its peak, and the world watches as American might surges forward across every front. The 1911 is now everywhere in the hands of officers, tank crews, pilots, and infantrymen. It has become more than a weapon. It is the mark of confidence and precision. It gives every soldier an edge, forged in the factory lines of Detroit, and the hearts of men who believe that liberty is worth every drop of sweat and blood. America fights with unity and purpose, and the 1911 becomes its silent anthem, sound of engines roaring, camera pans across convoys, rolling through mud and rain, soldiers resting by campfires, holding their pistols close. The light of the flames reflects off the steel, and their eyes show something deeper than fear. It is determination. An unspoken message that no matter how long or hard this war drags on, they will not yield, because their faith lies not just in their cause, but in the tools they carry and the nation that made them strong when battles rage and chaos rules. The 1911 proves why it is trusted above all others. It fires even when drenched in mud. It functions in cold and heat. It stands where others fail, and every soldier knows it. Every shot echoes with American precision and power. It is more than engineering. It is a spirit, the spirit of innovation and dominance that defines the United States in this war. And beyond, sound fades, camera zooms to an American flag waving high over a captured city. Soldiers cheer as the sun breaks through clouds in their holsters. The pistols rest, gleaming, proud symbols of victory and freedom in that moment. The 1911 stands not just as a tool of war, but as a reminder that American craftsmanship, courage, and resolve will always set the standard for the world to follow. ChatGPT said, "The war has carved bonds that can never be broken, and among the men who fight side by side, the 1911 becomes a shared faith, an extension of trust between brothers. It is passed from one soldier to another when ammo runs low or when fate demands a final stand. Each man knows the feel of its weight, the smooth curve of its grip, the sound of its report cutting through the chaos. It speaks for them when words are lost. It stands for them when hope is thin. It is more than a pistol, it is a companion, born of steel and loyalty." Sound of rain falling on helm. Its distant thunder. Camera moves through a trench. Soldiers huddled together, sharing a cigarette. One man checks his sidearm, wipes it clean despite the mud. His hands steady, his eyes tired. He whispers to the man beside him, "This thing never quits." The other nods and smiles because they both know it is true. The 1911 never quits. Neither do they. America never quits. In the cold nights between battles, men etch their names into the grips of their pistols, initials, dates, small reminders that they were here, that they fought, that they stood unbroken against the storm. Every scratch becomes a memory, every mark a story. These weapons become family heirlooms carried through fire and fear, only to return home and rest in peace as silent witnesses to what courage truly means. Sound of distant gunfire fades. Camera pans to sunrise over a silent battlefield. Helmets scattered, rifles broken, but beside one fallen soldier, the 1911 gleams untouched by time, a symbol of duty and resilience that even death cannot silence. It represents the soul of the American warrior, unyielding, steady, and everlasting, forged in battle and bound by brotherhood. carries the unspoken truth that freedom is never given, it is earned through courage and held by those strong enough to fight for it. The guns finally fall silent, the smoke clears, and the world breathes again, but the 1911 remains as it always has, faithful and strong. It returns home with the soldier who carried it, each pistol a relic of courage, a piece of history that smells of sweat, gunpowder, and victory. America stands tall among the ruins of war, its flag high, its spirit unbroken, its people united, and the 1911 stands as a symbol of that victory, forged in sacrifice and tempered by time's sound of a train whistle. Camera pans across rows of soldiers returning home, their faces weary yet proud. They step off onto American soil, greeted by families' tears and cheers, their pistols holstered, their hearts full. They have carried the burden of war, and now they carry its memory. The 1911 rests quietly, now no longer needed but never forgotten, for it is part of them and part of the nation they defended. In the years that follow, new weapons will come, sleeker, lighter, more modern, yet none will ever replace the 1911, because it is more than design, it is legacy, the shape of confidence, the feel of reliability, the sound of history itself echoing through every chamber and barrel. It becomes the standard by which all others are judged, and its legend grows not through propaganda, but through performance, through truth, through the hands of those who trusted it when the world was on fire. Sound fade. Camera focuses on a glass display in a museum, a 1911, resting under soft light beside a photograph of the soldier who once carried it, his name engraved beneath it, the voice of the narrator soft but proud. This was the weapon of a free nation, built by American hands, carried by American hearts. It did not just win battles, it helped win the world. Decades have passed, the battlefields are quiet now, yet the 1911 still endures across generations. It has outlived the war that made it famous, carried by soldiers, police, and patriots. It remains the trusted guardian of those who believe in strength and freedom, its shape unchanged, its purpose undiluted. It was born in a time of heroes, and it continues to serve heroes every day in the hands of those who walk in the footsteps of the greatest generation. America still trusts this weapon because it embodies everything the nation stands for: power, precision, loyalty, and resilience. Sound of wind sweeping across an open range. Camera pans over veterans standing tall, their gray hair blowing beneath the flag. They hold the 1911 once more, not as a weapon of war, but as a symbol of remembrance. Each man stares at it with quiet pride. They remember their brothers, the ones who never came home, the ones who carried the same steel through mud and fire. This pistol connects them to a time when courage was measured, not in words, but in action, when freedom was paid for in blood and defended by will, in museums, in homes, in the holsters of lawmen and the safe of collectors. The 1911 endures like a heartbeat that refuses to fade. It stands for the timeless truth that the tools of freedom must be worthy of the cause. They protect every piece, every spring, every line, crafted with purpose and belief. It is more than metal. It is a story written in the language of bravery and sealed by sacrifice. Sound fades. Camera focuses on the flag waving in slow motion, sunlight spilling across the pistol resting beside it. The narrator speaks softly. This is the legacy of the 1911, born from American genius, baptized in battle, carried by heroes, and remembered as a promise that freedom will always have a guardian as long as America stands. So too will this weapon, the old warrior that never dies.